study number 2, QUIZHEN versus Canada 2014. I want to give a brief background about the case. QUIZHEN, she applied for permanent residency of her daughter under HNC, but her application was refused by the visa officer because during her own application for permanent residency, she did not mention about the daughter, and under the relevant under the clause of Airport 1179D, a foreign national shall not be considered a member of family class by virtue of the relationship to a sponsorship if the clause D says, subclause D says, the subsection subject to the subsection 10, the sponsor previously made an application for permanent resident and became a permanent resident. At the time of the application, the foreign national was non-accompanying family member of the sponsor and was not examined. So her daughter was a non-accompanying member and she was a foreign national, so she was a non-member family class member. Now her daughter was 10 years of age during that time. The application was rejected on 2 grounds. One was 1179D, and second, there were insufficient agency factors in the case to overcome the daughter's exclusion as the member of the family class. So this case was taken into IAD. An appeal was filed in Immigration Appeal Division, and IAD decided to quash and go against the decision of the immigration officer. So his or her decision was quashed. Now what IAD did, they did concede that 1179D was applicable and she was not a family class member, but they bifurcated and they decided to test the genuinity of HNC, humanitarian and compassionate ground test, under section 63(1). Sorry, it was section 67(1)(a) of FIRPA, and they decided to determine whether the visa officer had taken into consideration all the agency factors and they were correct. Now, because of this bifurcation, at one point of time and in one segment, they have conceded that she is a non-member under the family class. So the case, so they should have stopped right there, because this is the rule. A non-member cannot, their case cannot be appealed in IAD and they don't have their jurisdiction. But they went ahead and they quashed a case under paragraph 61(a) of FIRPA. Now this case was taken into the federal court, and the federal court reviewed the case and they decided that the Immigration Appeal Division, they have crossed their jurisdiction. Now, Immigration Appeal Division jurisdiction is defined under section 63(1) and section 65, and it says, like in the jurisdiction in the clause, in the paragraph 13, it says the IAD jurisdiction is set out in section 63. Section 61 gives the IAD jurisdiction over the decision not to issue foreign national a permanent resident visa in the family class. Now the daughter was already declared a foreign national because of 1179D. So it was clearly mentioned, explicitly mentioned in section 63 that they don't have any jurisdiction to give a permanent resident to a foreign class, and this jurisdiction lies with the federal court. The other ground of related to the application, so applications by permanent resident, protected persons, or ministry related to admissibility hearings. So these are the grounds where the IAD can have their jurisdiction. Application of permanent residence, protected persons, or ministry related to admissibility hearings or residency obligations. The IAD therefore has no jurisdiction over non-family class permanent residence application, and these divisions are reviewable only with the leave of by the federal court. And further the court said in the section 65 to 60 IAD jurisdiction over family class, even in the family class, I'm not talking about the non-family class, we're talking about family class permanent application, IAD may not consider humanitarian and compassionate consideration arising on an appeal from a family class application unless it has decided that the foreign national is a member of family class and that the sponsor is a sponsor. So first they have to consider under section 5D that the member they are talking about, or under this section, is a family member. But this is totally opposite when we define 117(9)D, where the daughter of Q was considered under that section that she was a non-member. So even in the class of family members, you have to concede first that the person concerned is the family member, and then only you can take the humanitarian and compassionate consideration. So even under section 65D, it is like either or they have to decide. So the court said once the IAD determined that the foreign national is a non-family member or the spouse is not defined sponsor, that ends its jurisdiction in respect of any claim for HNC consideration. So they should have stopped right there, not get into HNC consideration. The route of the review in those situations too. The route of review in those situations is to federal court by the way of leave of judicial review. They should have gone for a judicial review rather than going for IAD. IAD should have rejected the case. So court also analyzed the HNC, humanitarian and compassionate consideration as the factors, and it said even if their first opinion, even if the first issue was an error, still they find the agency consideration, whatever officer did was reasonable, and the officer was alert, alive and sensitive to the child's best interest, and he addressed the major points of best interest and reached a reasonable conclusion. So even if we exclude the issue number one, still the human right and agency consideration, humanitarian compassionate consideration, humanitarian and compassionate consideration were right. Court, they set aside the decision of IAD and they restored the decision of immigration officer, and there were no certified questions or serious question that required any kind of now coming to the point whether the judgment was right or wrong. If you go according to the law has their own boundaries, they have their own acts, they have their own sections, they have their own principles, they have everything defined, and they have to work within that compartment, they have to work within those decisions. According to that, we cannot say the decision was not right. But I really want to emphasize one point, that all these legislations that were made by the parliament for humanitarian and compassionate ground, they want to reunite the families. They not only want to reunite the families within Canada, they want to reunite the families which are outside Canada. And humanitarian and compassionate grounds and the values inculcated in them, it has a broad approach. In this case, everything went well according to the law. The jurisdictions were decided, the IAD decision was quashed. But what about the family? Eventually, the daughter is more likely to be separated from her mother, but maybe the immigration officer went through the facts, because that in the last paragraph explicitly the judge has mentioned that he has given good amount of reasons that it is in the best interest of the child. So we can go, we hope so, we can go with the decision, and we do hope so that it will be really the best, in the best interest of the child, that the parents, sorry, the mother and the daughter are separated. I don't know how it is the best interest, but still, after going through the case, this is what the case says.